All right, I am live. It says I am live. Hi, everybody. I hope y'all are able to see me. Let me know if you're able to see me. And you're here and you're joining me. Say hi. Make sure you say hello when you come in. Um, I'm Gail, and I'm here to just thank everybody first and say thank y'all for being here. I'm glad you were able to join me live today. And I want to thank all of the folks that are going to join that are not able to join live, but that will watch the replay. So thank y'all for all coming and joining me tonight. So I have a question to start off with. Hi, everybody. See, there's a few folks on here tonight, so I'm glad to see y'all. Thank y'all for joining me. Um, so I have a question for y'all to start with for tonight. And the question is, have you ever felt like you have had an experience of divine intervention? Answer me in the comments. Say yes or no in the comments. Have you ever felt like you had some sort of an experience with divine intervention? Yes or no, y'all. Just answer in the comments. Type in a comment, yes or no. Because I think most of us have. Yes, yes. Okay, so Courtney says yes, she has. Becky says yes. Angela says yes. Renee says yes. So I think most of us have, right? Most of us have had Andrew says yes, Dana says yes. Okay, Carolyn says yes. Yeah. So I think most of us have felt like we have had some sort of you know, experience with the divine, right? Somebody's all of us, I feel like have felt like that. So I'm just going to tell y'all about a little experience that I have had recently, that I have had, and hopefully, y'all will understand what it feels like when you have a divine intervention. Anyway, so at the beginning of Lent, y'all all know that I'm Catholic. And at the beginning of Lent, I prayed, of course, and I asked the Blessed Mother what she wanted me to do for Lent. I don't really give up things, I just ask how I can be a better person and what I needed to do. And so, the Blessed Mother told me that she wanted me to go to the Adoration Chapel. And I knew what the Adoration Chapel was. I've never really been in one. I mean, I knew what it was about. And so, for those of you who are not Catholic, the Adoration Chapel is the place where um, the host is exposed. It's the presence of God is exposed in a monstrance on an altar at the front of the little chapel. And so, and I have to apologize. My daughter left, and she left the dogs. And that's the little dog. I don't know if y'all can hear her behind me, but that's her crying. And so I'm sorry that she's making that noise. Anyway, anyway, so I went into the Adoration Chapel, and I didn't know what to expect, really. I knew what it was about, but I really didn't know what to expect. And so I went into the Adoration Chapel thinking that I was just going to go and say my prayers like I would normally say my prayers if I was at home, right? So I went into the Adoration Chapel. I brought like my prayer books with me that I would normally pray out of. I normally journal, so I brought like my journal so that I could maybe write some things down. And I really didn't think about it too much. I just knew that I needed to go, and I really didn't expect anybody else to be in there, just me and whoever needs to sit in the chapel. And I really wasn't thinking about it. I went the first Friday of Lent, so the first Friday right after Mardi Gras is when I decided to go. And I got there somewhere around 11 o'clock. And the reason why I know is because when it was over, it was 12. But I went in there. And when I got in there, it was packed. There were like chairs in the chapel, and 5 of them were taken. So there was only one chair left, and it was right by the door, and it was a hard chair. So I went and I sat in the chair. It was squeaking and everything. It's supposed to be completely silent in the chapel, and it was squeaking and everything. So I sat in the chair and I pulled out the first book that I would read from, and I started to go to read from it, and it was I felt like something was like closing the book and telling me to put it away. Like, no, don't talk, don't read that, put that away. And what I was reading from, it was the reading for that day and a reflection of the reading for the day. And so I was like, what in the heck, So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to read, And I tried to read again, and it was like I couldn't even see the words on the page. And it was like, stop reading this and put the book away. And so I was like, what in the heck is going on? So I was like, okay. So I put the book away. And as I put the book away, I was like agitated. I was uncomfortable. I don't know. I just wasn't myself. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I was on fire. And that's the best way I know how to describe it. I just felt like I was on fire. And I'm normally cold all the time. I had my jacket with me, but I just felt like I was on fire. And I was like looking around to see if the other people in the chapel were cold or hot or whatever, if anybody else was like burning up. And I looked around, and the few older ladies that were in there, they all had their little cardigan sweaters on. And there was an older gentleman in there, and he had on a flannel shirt. And I was like, okay, nobody else feels like they're on fire. I felt like I was so hot in there. It was like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I was agitated, and I was like, I don't know why I can't do what I want to do. And so I just sat down and I said, okay, do what you know, return to your breath, start breathing, return to your breath, and just chill out for a minute, see what's going on, what's happening. And as I did that, it did not calm me down. I was just like, okay, something, I didn't feel right, something wasn't right. So finally I was like, Mary, you told me to come. I'm here because you told me to come. So why did you bring me here, Mary? What am I doing here? I don't understand what's going on. And so then I sat again, and I waited, like for an answer, and I wasn't getting an answer to my why. Note to self and note to everybody else. I already knew this. They never answer why. If you've ever noticed that, if you've ever asked why are you doing this? Why me? Why, what is going on? Why? When you ask why, you never get an answer to why. You'll get an answer to how, you might get an answer to where, but why is not one that they answer. Anyway, I was like, why am I here? What's going on? So I didn't get an answer. So I sat again, and I thought, okay, when I was praying to Mary and asking her what she wanted me to do, what was I thinking about at that time? What else was I praying about? And so I kind of started praying about, what direction was I supposed to go in, and, like making sure I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was trying to pray about those things and ask those things. And I started getting information about like how to do things with my business, like uh keep your, one of the messages that came through was keep your days open. I'm like, keep my days open, what the heck, what does that mean? Like, not to do anything during the day, like keep my days open. That was one of the messages. And then another message was, like um um think about starting a membership, or, things like that. It was like weird stuff. It was like stuff that kept coming up about like my business. And I was just very agitated, and I knew I was saying agitated prayers. And I was like, I'm sorry I'm saying agitated prayers, but I don't know what I'm here for. You asked me to come, I came. And really what you wanted to talk to me about was my, business, like business things. Like, that's not what I expected. I expected like some, I don't know, revelation, something, that would say, why I'm here, what you want from me. And you're answering questions like about business, like telling me what to do about business. Like, I'm not here for that. Like, what's the deal? And then all of a sudden, I heard a man's voice, who I believe was Jesus, because I was in the presence of him. All of a sudden, I hear this man's voice, in my head. I know nobody else heard. It was me. He was talking directly to me. And I was like, I'm out of here, because I'm not here to get business advice. I'm here for bigger things, right? And this voice resonated within me that said, then bring better questions, then ask better questions. And I was just like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, what? I was like, like, oh, you get me. You get me right here, because it's like, if you want better answers, then ask better questions. Ask me more pertinent questions. And I didn't feel like I was asking questions about business. Maybe I was, but I felt like what I was asking obviously wasn't the right questions. I wasn't asking what I needed to ask in order to get the answers that I was looking for. And I was just like, oh, like, and that just gets me straight to my heart, for me to think that I wasn't asking the right question. So let me ask y'all this. If you were told that, then what would you ask? What question would you ask? Like, so, that bugged me for a long time after that, a few weeks after, that bugged me, like, what questions should I be asking? So think about that. Like, what questions should we be asking? Should we be asking more about world peace? Should we be like, I don't know. So post in the comments, what questions do you think are good questions, so to speak? I don't like to label them good and bad, but just bring better questions. Ask me better questions. So what kind of questions would be better questions? How can I serve you? Angela says, how can I serve you? Yep, I ask that question every day. I ask them to tell me that. How can I serve you? I'm here to serve you. How do I serve? What's something else? I don't know. I'm asking you guys. Post your questions. What would you ask in that situation? Nobody else wants to say anything? I don't know. I'm not getting any more. All right, I'm not getting any more questions. Um, there we go. What is my path? Reneri saying, what is my path in life? Sure. Sure, of course. What is your path? Where are you going? How can I serve? How can I spread the light in the world? I ask that all the time too. Help me to spread the light. Help me to be the light. Help me to spread love. Yeah, am I on the right path? That's always the right a good question to ask, to lead me. So after that first visit, I did go back. I said, okay, I need to I need to think of better questions, right? I need to think of something better. So I did. I went back and I was locked and loaded, man. I was going back. I knew, so that was something I skipped. So I forgot to tell y'all, the next day after I had that experience, that Saturday morning when I was journaling, I realized that when I first walked into the chapel, there's a kneeler in front of the altar. And when I first walked in, I didn't go and kneel in front of the altar and say, hey, like, I'm here. And as I was journaling the next morning, the light bulb went off in my head that I didn't do that, and how sort of disrespectful that was. Because, think about if you're going to a party or if you're going anywhere, when you go in to the party, when you walk in anywhere, you go to the host or the hostess and you say, hey, I'm here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad I'm here. Right. And I didn't do that. And I thought about how if you go before royalty, you will kneel before the king and say, thank you. You're my king. And the thing about that is, I have a very casual relationship, obviously, with Mary and Jesus. I call upon them by their names. I talk to them like I would my best friend. And I thought about it and I thought, okay, I'm like a best friend to him in private, we're best friends. But then in public, I need to acknowledge him as who he is, right? So the next time I knew I was going to go in, I had it planned. I was going to kneel. I was going to say, hey, I'm here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad I'm here to talk to you and do all of that. And then I had my questions. Like I said, I was ready. I walked in, I knelt, I said, hey, I'm here. There was only one other person in the chapel, so I said, hey, I'm here. Went, sat down, and started my meditation to talk to him and ask him the questions that I wanted to ask. And as I'm talking to him and I'm feeling good about things, I'm open, I'm feeling in alignment. I can feel myself, being really feeling well. I felt like I was on fire again. I just felt like I was on fire, y'all. I don't know how else to explain it. It's worse than any hot flash I've ever had, is what I can tell you. I was on fire. And then after that, I continued to communicate. And then all of a sudden, I started coughing. I had a coughing fit. And when I tell you I started coughing and coughing and coughing, I couldn't stop coughing. I had to get up and run out because I was coughing so violently. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know what in the heck that was about, whatever. And so, I will be honest, I have not gone back again. I went those 2 times. I do plan to go back this Friday. I'm going to go to see what happens again this Friday. But I don't know exactly what was going on. And so, I kind of know, I kind of have a clue, and I got some information again this morning. But I'm wondering, what do y'all think was happening to me? Why do y'all think I was on fire? Why do y'all think I'm coughing my head off? What do y'all think was happening? I know, I'm so sorry about the puppy dog, Patrice. She is so sad that her mom left her. And I I just have to deal with that. So sorry. Anyway, what do y'all think was going on? Why do y'all think I was on fire? Does anybody want to take a guess? Looks like Joan. So somebody said somebody was making sure they had my attention. I think that's true. Susan said that. I didn't have a message for anybody in church or anything. Touched by the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of Jesus. There you go. I was not sick. Melody, I was not sick. I wasn't being captured. I think I was, and I agree. I feel like the Holy Spirit was filling me up, was making me on fire, was catching me on fire in order for me to spread that light, in order for me to ignite and inflame. Because every morning when I experiencing love, that's a good one, Patrice. Every morning when I pray, I ask for me to be so filled with the light that I ignite and inflame all the lights around me. I pray for that every single morning. And I never really experienced, I guess, what that felt like until I was in there. And I felt like I was on fire. And so the other piece of that, I feel like I was coughing. The reason why I feel like I was coughing was because I was releasing something toxic. The Holy Spirit was getting something out of me, right? I don't know if if I had something stuck in there, that needed to come out. What little dark spot might have been in there. Because the other thing that I pray for every morning is for the light to be so bright within me that it illuminates any of the darkness within me so that no darkness can live in me. And so I just feel like when I started coughing, that coughing was causing me to release something. But I will admit it kind of scared me. I was a little scared. I was a little confused. And so I didn't go back because I wasn't sure what was going to happen again. And then I decided that I was going to go back on Friday. And this morning when I was praying, um, an answer came, and I said, okay, I'm going to go on Friday. I started praying and I said, I'm going to go back on Friday. And so I'm going to do my best to bring good questions, and I'm going to, yeah, kind of like the Green Mile. I guess so, Susan. Yeah, I guess so. Like the Green Mile, like the guy when he's getting rid of all of that stuff. I guess so. I never thought about that, but yeah, anyway, I, I said, I'm going to go back on Friday, Lord, and I don't know, I'll bring the best questions that I can. And, and then, you know, this answer came to me that said, you know, I'm always listening. I'm always answering because everybody's always asking. And so I'm always answering. If you ask, I'm going to answer. And the Holy Spirit again was in me pushing me to take some sort of action, and to do something more than what I've been doing. And I just feel like the other thing that I got this morning was that um, I realized that it's really not about the questions, it's about the answer. And that because the answer is always the same, right? The answer is always the same. The answer is constant because the answer is always for us to pray. The answer is for us to always ask, and God will answer. The answer is always God. And so it's more about that answer than it is about the questions. Make sure that we always know what the answer is. And so I feel like on Friday, when I go to the chapel again on Friday, it's really just about me and him, me visiting him, me going and saying, okay, I'm here. Thanks for inviting me. What do you want to say? And then just listening. And so that it's just me and him, no questions, no expectations, no any of that. Because, bottom line is, I don't have to say anything because God already knows what I need. The universe already knows what you need. It already, you put out that vibration constantly, and you are constantly being answered, and they know what you need, and you're getting the answers constantly. So I'll let y'all know, what happens. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with y'all because I feel like that's important. I feel like it's important for y'all to understand that, it's not about questions. It's about, having the answer, and knowing who to go to for the answer, and to put that vibration out there so that you have the answer. Anyway, so that's what that was about. So I don't know what y'all thought about that. I'm going to show y'all the little culprit of the sad sounds. Can y'all see this little culprit of the sad sounds? This is who's making all the sad sounds. So just for y'all to know, that's her. She jumped up on the bench with me. Anyway, so I don't know. What do y'all think about that? Do y'all agree with me? Do y'all disagree with me? Um, what do y'all think about that? Post something in the comments. You're welcome, Patrice. She said thank you for having the sessions. Um, Courtney says she agrees with me. Um, I just feel like I want y'all to see that things happen to all of us. And so hopefully y'all will get that experience. Candace says, I think that's why he wanted you to close the book, because he wanted you just to listen. Absolutely, Candace. Absolutely. He wanted me to just shut up, close the book. What you doing all of that for, right? We just need to listen. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah, so just make sure that you listen. Okay, so we do have some questions. Some folks posted their questions, so I'm going to answer those. But I need to make something clear. When I ask you about asking me questions, it's not for me to do a reading. I hope y'all understand that. It's not, for me to say, talk to your loved ones for you. It's more questions about maybe spiritual things, or I don't know, like these questions. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. And can y'all see this too? Y'all should be able to see this too. You're right, Courtney. Sometimes we do talk too much and we need to just be quiet. So Renari asked me in the comments that she's been dreaming with her deceased grandma a lot. And for the first time in 22 years, her father came to her in a dream, and she wasn't sure if that meant something good or something bad. And she was asking me what I thought. And, a lot of times when folks come to us long after they pass away, it's just time for them to visit with us again. And I don't feel like it's a bad thing usually. I feel like that's a good thing, that folks come and they just want to visit us, and they feel like we need them. And so for some reason, I don't know whatever was going on right now, Raineri, but I feel like, they come to us so that so that we can see that, hey, yeah, they're still there, and that for whatever reason we need them. So I feel like it's not a bad thing usually when they come. Melanie had a good question. She shared that she sees numbers all the time. She's been asking her guardian angels and deceased loved ones to help her out. And so she's been seeing numbers. They've been validating for her that they've been around. And so she wants to know what happens to babies or people who do not get baptized. There's so many different religions and beliefs. Some people don't baptize their children, and that's true. There are some religions that don't have any kind of baptismal ceremony, but the major religions all do. And it's not, some of them are not necessarily, some of them are cleansing rituals. They're not necessarily baptisms like we know Christian baptisms to be. They're more just like cleansing ceremonies. And then other ones are like Christian ceremonies are, of course, cleansing, because it's cleansing us from original sin, but also that it is welcoming them into a community of people and into this community. And so a lot of folks, that's what it's about. It's about welcoming them into a community of people. And so I feel like, as far as baptisms go, it just, if that's something, I personally feel like that's a good thing. It's okay to cleanse, in my opinion, to cleanse your energy, to get that whatever's in there out, whatever, even if, not everybody does it as babies either. Some people do it as adults. Some religions, I should say, do it as adults. And so, especially if you're an adult, to have a baptism and cleanse that energy and cleanse your spirit, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know if they go to heaven or not. I feel like it's about how you live your life, not about whether or not you're baptized personally. But I also know that baptism is a good thing, and that it cleanses you, it welcomes you into a community, and allows you to be a part of something, helps you to feel like you're part of the collective. So I don't feel like that's a bad thing. And I can't speak to where they go, because I honestly don't know. I would assume that as long as they live in a good life, they are going to a good place. So I don't know if that answered your question or not. I hope so. And then Kristen asked that something I said weighed heavily on her mind, and she wished she would have clarified it at the time, but she wants to know how she can open herself up to find clarity to what was meant from whatever I told her. And of course, I don't remember anything, so I don't remember what I told her. But the way to open yourself up always and to find clarity in anything, is to meditate, is to get silent, is to listen, like we were just saying. So just get quiet and listen, and open your heart up to hear with your heart, and just make sure that you're in a place that's quiet. You can make yourself a little sacred place, where it's quiet, and just put out the energetic vibration that you need clarity on, whatever it is that you need clarity on, and then just sit and listen. And it may take several iterations of that. I'm not saying that you go do that tonight and you're going to get the answer that you're looking for. It takes some time, but you will absolutely get the answer when you need it. But that's the best way to open yourself up and clarify, is to meditate. And then Mel asked whether she had a conversation at 17 years old with her first husband when they read a book about how souls can meet in their dreams. And she still dreams of him, and sometimes they're having good conversations in their meeting. And she was just wondering if living souls who are not in contact can meet on a soul level. And the answer to that is absolutely, positively yes. And I have told people in consultations before that, especially if they're not getting along with somebody else, or if they're having problems, to talk to them soul to soul instead of person to person. Because when you speak to them soul to soul, then you are able to resolve the issues. It's I don't know, and it's easier. We're on a higher plane of existence, soul to soul, and so our egos don't get in the way. And so I think that's probably what's happening with you is, Melanie, I thought I saw, yeah, she's here. So Mel, tell me in the comments, when you see him in your dreams, when y'all meet up, is it good stuff, like it's fun stuff going on, or are y'all arguing? Waiting to see Melanie. Mel, is she still here? I would think that it's good stuff. It's not bad stuff. I would think that they're, yeah, good. Okay. Thanks, Mel. Anyway, so it's good things, and so that it's easier for you to, if you saw him, you may not want to talk to him, in person, but you're able to talk to him, soul to soul through your dreams. And it's easier and you can resolve things that way. And maybe the next time, if you did see him again, there would be no animosity because of those visits. So just wanted to say that. Okay. Okay. Those were all those questions. Now I want to look and see what questions y'all have for me in the comments. So give me just a second. Oh, somebody's asking me if I'm ever going to do face-to-face readings again. That's pretty doubtful, Lisa. I'm sorry to say. I don't think so, just because it takes a lot out of me. And for everybody involved, it's much more convenient for me to do them via Zoom. All of the clients that I've had that have done them via Zoom have been satisfied with them, and were glad that they could do it from the comfort of their own home. If anybody is on here that has had a Zoom meeting with me, let them say what y'all thought about it. I mean, be honest, and say what you thought about it in the comments. Let's see. Donna is asking, do our deceased loved ones like us to visit their grave sites? Not necessarily. Honestly, they don't care. What I have gotten is that they really don't care if you visit them there, because they're not in that grave. They are with us. And so we can visit with them whenever we want. We don't have to go visit them just at their gravesite. So know that. And I know this is going to sound terrible, but since my dad passed away, I've never been to the gravesite. And he died almost 3 years ago. And I've just never been, and my mom either, really. When I went back to the gravesite after my mom passed away, is when my daddy got buried in there. So I don't feel like they're there. They're wherever we are, usually with us. And if we ask for them, they'll come. So just visit with them. But if you want your gravesite to look nice and look like it's being kept up, that's fine. Then go visit and put some flowers and say hi. That's fine. They are where you are, Donna. So he'll be there if you're there. Or she will be there. Your deceased loved ones will be there. Why would we dream about a person dying all over again? What does that mean? Typically, when you dream about a death, whether the person is still living or after they passed away, that just typically means that you understand that physical relationship is over. And I know, Katie Jo, that could be very hurtful. It can be very emotional. But typically that just means that that your physical relationship with that person is done. They're no longer a physical being. And so that part of them is dead, is gone. But that doesn't mean that they are gone. It doesn't mean that they are dead, because they are still very much alive. In spirit, and able to and able to still communicate with you in spirit. Let's see. Very sad. Oh, okay. So Jennifer is saying she was okay with the Zoom meeting and twice, and due for another one. Okay, Jen. It's good to hear from you, Jen. I hope everything's going well. Lisa Bennett is saying she was satisfied with our Zoom meeting. So that's good. Melanie, is it okay to just be spiritual and not necessarily religious? I don't feel like I get much out of church personally. Absolutely, Melanie. It is okay. the only reason why I talked about going to the Adoration Chapel and doing that stuff is because the Blessed Mother asked me to do it. And I try not to drag religion into it, although I know I tell y'all I'm Catholic. I'm not necessarily a good one. you know, so I guess that's why Mother Mary wanted me to go to the Adoration Chapel so I could listen, be a little better one. So yeah, so I think that that's okay, that as long as you have a connection with something bigger, I choose to call him God. But I don't think, personally, if you're not getting anything out of going to church, and you get more from, maybe praying on your own or praying with friends, then do that. I'm not going to judge you for not going to church. My mom used to say, stop looking at the splinter in the other person's eye and see the plank in your own, right? I'm not going to be the first one to cast a stone, that's for sure, because I'm not great about religion either. Let's see. Margaret Sagers is saying that she thought her thing went great. Courtney loved her meeting. She listened to the video about guardian angels. Did as instructed this morning. Mark came. Oh, is it possible to have a male guardian angel and be a female? Absolutely. A lot of times, males have female angels, and females have male angels. So absolutely. And if that is the name that you came up with, just start calling him that, and he will answer you. And if it's not right, like I said, you'll feel like you're going to throw up, So yeah, so you can absolutely have a male angel. Sure. Oh, okay. So Dory's saying that she's done Zoom and it works, but she likes being in the same room because she feels the energy better when she's in the room with me. So okay, Dory. Francesca, yes, I am accepting readings, consultations, whatever you want to call them. Yes, and you can get in touch with me by going to gjmedium@gmail.com. And look, y'all, I got fancy, and I can show y'all. Because I kept trying to say them in the last ones and I wasn't able to do it. And so there you go. You can get in touch with me here, Francesca, and I will give you the information. Ro is saying, I once dreamed I was at my guardian angel. He was taking me on a trip, promised me I wouldn't be scared, took his hand, memory started extremely fast. I got scared, returned to my body. Well, guess what? That can happen. You didn't trust, Ro. You didn't trust. And so when you didn't trust, then you got returned to your body. You have to trust. Let's see. The Zooms were great and very relaxing. All right, Francesca. So yeah, so then if you want to just go straight and book something with me, you can book me. Here's the place where you can go to just book something. If you want to book a private consultation with me, that's how you do it. And from today until Sunday, if you put in this code when I send you the link to pay for your thing, you'll get $20 off. And so that's something that I'm doing with you guys tonight. Y'all joined me tonight and I appreciate it. So, if you want to schedule something, you'll get $20 off of any of the readings that I do when you put in that code when I send you the thing. Let's see. Yes, Margaret's saying she agrees with Dory that she likes being in the same room with me, but I do send the recording of your Zoom session. Yeah, so you get that. How do I know? How do you know if you have a guardian angel and who it might be? So Susan, um, go. I don't remember the exact date of the live that I did, but if you go look at I don't remember the exact date. You'll have to go look at some of the videos. I did a live on angels and talked about that. How do you know who your guardian angel is and how do you get their name? Your guardian angel is not somebody that you know. That angels are made um you know, as hierarchy beings. So go watch that and you'll find it. Constantly seeing 3 of 3 3 3. So 3 is a spiritual number that means that you know, all these numbers are always that you're divinely supported, you're divinely, and you know, being divinely supported, and that you need to you know, trust and ask. So usually when you see numbers like that, a book that you can go to and reference is Angel Numbers 101 by Doreen Virtue, if you want to look at that up. And you'll be able to find any combination of numbers. Um, yes, go. You can either. So Melanie, you welcome. Help you find out about a mystery illness. If someone has health issues but can't figure out what's wrong, sometimes I'm not necessarily a medical medium, so and so I I don't know. Like sometimes I can. And that's one of the situations where a lot of times if I'm in the same room with the person, I can scan their body and I can feel for hot spots in their body. And I can tell you where the hot spots are, but I can't necessarily tell you what the physical illness is, what's wrong. So just for you to know that. But there are medical mediums out there that can do that, that are absolutely about that. Guardian angel reading, same schedule site. Yep, you can go straight there and just schedule the type of reading that you want. Yep, Joan. So I also wanted to let y'all and remind y'all that I'm going to be doing an angel workshop, and I actually think I'm going to be doing the angel workshop in person. I'm trying to get it together to see if I can find a place and everything. So anyway, I am holding an angel workshop. It'll probably be a 1 day in-person workshop. It's going to be about how to communicate with your angels. Space is definitely going to be limited, and this is where you can go to get on the wait list, so that if you want more information when I get it out there. I'm putting it together right now. And I'm trying to find a place to have it. So as soon as I get that together, I'll have more information on the angel workshop. So if you're interested in that, that's where you can go to sign up for the wait list, and I'll let y'all know when I'm going to be doing that. The other thing is that Hope just ended. We just wrapped up our second season of Hope, our second session of Hope, and I plan on doing another one probably starting in mid-September. And I know that's kind of a weird time because it's hurricane season, but I want to get it finished before Thanksgiving, because last year we did it through the holidays and that was really difficult. So I want to do it before Thanksgiving. So it'll probably start in mid-September. And so to get on the wait list for that, you can go here and get on the wait list to go to Hope if you're interested in Hope, which is healing, optimism, peace, and enlightenment. It's a little program that I put together to help folks to be able to get in touch with their inner being, so that they can feel a connection, better connected, and just have better spiritual growth. Anyway, so I think that's it. Does anybody have any other questions? No other questions. Okay, so I always like to end on a high note with a prayer. This prayer that I'm gonna read to y'all tonight comes from Carolyn Mace's book, Intimate Conversations with God. I don't know if y'all can see it. Intimate Conversations with God. Y'all can see how I don't ever use this. I got like almost every page bookmarked, but anyway, Intimate Conversations with God. It's a great one. So this is prayer number 99, and the name of it is While We Sleep. Lord, grant me the grace of awareness. Keep me ever growing in my awareness that I am one with all humanity, that what I do to one, I do to all, that as it is in heaven, so it is on earth, that every thought and feeling I have is also a choice, and that choice is an act of creation, and that all life breathes together. You are watching over all creation, even while we sleep, but we too must be the caretakers of life with every conscious choice we make. Amen. Okay, y'all. Y'all have a great evening. And the schedule email address yet. Y'all have a great evening, and I will see y'all again in about another month, I guess, or maybe sooner. So just keep your eye out for the post when I'm coming live. Thank y'all for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I hope y'all have a great night. Bye.